I like Kareem Hunt more than Brian Robinson.
You just said that Brian Robinson was probably your favorite play.
Well, I lied.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the Week 12 DFS picks. We're going to go game by game, build our shells, then build our lineups, and you can probably fade all those and win some money. That's the way that it goes. Use code Mayo at Underdog right now. Get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 and a free pick for the Sunday slate. Davis Mattek joining me on the line. Tambo is away. Davis, how's it going?
It is it's not going too bad, Pat. I'm having a decent year in DFS. Bad year in the best ball streets, but it only takes one. That's what they told me on Underdog. It really only takes one. So maybe in the end, I'll have spent all this time complaining and it will all be for naught.
I was having a pretty break-even year, slightly down in the Underdog pick'em, and then all of a sudden I went through a 3-week stretch and I'm up all the money this season. And then I had a terrible week 11, and then I thought I was going to get it all back on Thursday Night Football, but Jameis kept sailing passes over Elijah Moore's head, and there's nothing I can do about that.
That's kind of what Jameis does. I had Elijah Moore higher 3.5 receptions on like every entry.
Yeah.
And I also had Mike Williams higher 5.5 yards on every entry, and I still don't really know how that didn't get there.
Well, the only key is that Darnell Washington got there on both the prop side and on the Underdog side, so at least that was some nice saving grace for me on that. Maybe we'll talk through some of the players that we like in terms of pick'em this week while we go through building some of these lineups, but I want to get to the optimal to start. I'm taking the optimal from Run the Sims on a Friday morning, so obviously not all of the injuries are updated because we don't know what they are. We're not from the future, but it did give me Tommy DeVito as the quarterback in the optimal, so I'm probably not going to play this lineup. I don't know what it is about this guy. I hate Tommy DeVito.
I know what you hate about Tommy DeVito. You hate contrived media storylines.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what you hate. So you hate this agent. You hate Tommy Cutlets. You hate the story about how he still lives with his mom and his mom drove him to Meadowlands for his first start. Like I can see inside your soul and know that you hate that. Because I hate it too. Like who cares?
Well, it was fun for like a week or two last year.
A week.
But like I don't need to see season 2 of this. Enough. It was a mini series. I'm in, I'm out. I got to watch what I wanted to watch. It's like some of these mini series that go like 8 episodes when they should really be 4 episodes. I'm just over Tommy DeVito. I don't want to tune in anymore.
Yeah, Mayor of Easton didn't need a second season. It was a good first season. We didn't need to see another crime, right? Broadchurch, great first season. There was no reason for that to be a 3-season show.
See, there you go. See, you're in on it. So you're watching a lot of these mini season streamers, huh?
Yeah. Generally speaking, I can get my wife on the hook for something with a crime or a mystery involved. So that's the kind of prestige drama I'm able to sign her up for.
It's funny because my wife mentioned that to me last night. The kids shockingly went to bed very early last night, hence why they were up at 5 o'clock this morning. That's never any fun. And she was like, yeah, I want to watch something like a caper, like something that's like something like a spy movie, a crime movie, something like that. That's not like too serious. And like, so I started to go through the options. We settled on Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels because we'd recently watched Snatch and Rock and Rolla, but it wasn't like available for free. I would have had to rent it. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Let's find a free movie instead. So we decided to kick off the Christmas season to watch one of my 10 favorite movies of all time and watching Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which she had not seen before, which is just, if people haven't seen it. I know people get very upset with me because I bring it up every year around the Christmas season, and there's a lot of people that really don't like that movie, but you need to be cold of heart and to really enjoy it.
I've never even heard of this
Then
movie.
you need to watch it. You will very much enjoy it.
Can I watch this with my wife? Will she sign up for it, or is she going to be out after like 6 minutes?
My wife loved it.
Okay. All right. Sold. That's all. That's literally all I needed to hear.
Listen,
I will try and sell it.
You need to get some Robert Downey and some Val Kilmer in your life, and you're off to the races.
I enjoy both of those guys. I enjoy both of those guys' work.
But the problem was like when she said like humor and things like that, like I didn't go straight comedy. I was like, hey, let's watch Beverly Hills Cop. She's like, no, that's like too much of a comedy. I was like, that's not a comedy at all. Like just because Eddie Murphy's in it doesn't mean it's hilarious. It is funny, but it's a serious movie. Like it's a serious crime movie.
I've never seen Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh my
this is
God,
where
dude,
this is where our age gap kicks in.
Like I think Beverly Hills Cop came out before I was born, so I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, it's not fair either because I've seen like Good Will Hunting and Rounders and stuff like a billion times, so that's probably not fair.
All right, so the optimal gives me Tommy DeVito. It gives me Connor, Devin A-Chain, and Kenneth Walker. Since A-Chain has become like an optimizer darling, he's been not bad, but he just hasn't hit the ceiling that you wanted from him.
Yeah.
Like the first game that he came back, he hit it, but no one used him. And now everyone has used him every single week since, and he's just not got there.
Well, I mean, of course I used him because I'm a Devin A-Chain slappy. I would say, Pat, you don't want to be the diamond, the guy who stops gambling. You don't want to be that guy. I think A-Chain, I mean, it's pretty impressive that he's not played all that well. And he's averaging I believe he's averaging over 21 DraftKings points per game when Tua is the starting quarterback. So, like, in terms of guys who have not gotten there on efficiency, A-Chain at 7.5 or McCaffrey at 8.5, I think I'm probably leaning A-Chain.
Yeah, but I think that there's enough running backs that, like, if you wanted to flip the build, because I do think that it's going to it's going to be very reminiscent of the past few weeks that we've played, like 3 expensive quarterbacks, probably 2 mid-tier wide receivers, a cheap wide receiver, a cheap quarterback, figure out what to do at tight end, either very expensive or very cheap, depending on how that falls, and just pay down for whoever at defense. That if you can go to this mid-tier at running back, and there's like 5 guys that I like this week in that mid-tier that are all in really good spots, and maybe the ownership will end up reflecting that if you hit it there, you could actually pay up for some decent quality receivers this week, which is usually the way to win these things.
So that, like, in theory, I agree with you. Here's the issue. The guys who are putting up massive scores this year are all running backs. It's the guys who get 35 it's always running backs.
Wow.
Like at wide receiver, it's like, okay, St. Brown could definitely do it. Nico could theoretically do it. Jefferson could theoretically do it. I don't know. Like, is Neighbors with DeVito, I'm out. Mike Evans, like, seems fine. McLaurin, I'm out pretty much. I don't know. I think the chalk build is pretty straightforward, and I think I probably will try and just mine around at cheap wide receivers and play a bunch of these expensive running backs.
Well, listen, I'm coming off my best week of the year. I heavily advocated for the Lions onslaught last week, and that worked out swimmingly. Got some Taysom Hill into the mix. So I won some good bucks last week, so I'm willing to give it all back with some terrible takes. That's why I need you on the show, too. As you've said before.
You want to hear my bad beat? You want to hear my bad beat from last week?
Okay, can I laugh at it?
Of course you can. I was one of only 98 users on Underdog in Battle Royale who had Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, and Taysom Hill all together on the same roster. A couple times, multiple teams I had that on, and I did not win. I did not win because every other player on those rosters, it was like Justin Jefferson, just total losers, guys who got like less than 10 points on Underdog, that's my bad beat.
So it's like so much about DFS is about getting things right in terms of like, hey, I need to get this guy in lineups. But conversely, a lot of the times it's just about avoiding the guys that people think that are going to be really good and are actually terrible. And I had a very good week with that. Like, no Audric Estime for me. That seemed like an insane thing to do. Keyshawn Bote, or that. Like, he's back in the optimal again. Like, pretty sure the guy just jogs around the field and doesn't do anything.
I'll give the people a big hack. Any lineup that Keyshawn Boutte appears in, just play Kendrick Bourne or Demario Douglas instead. Keyshawn Boutte is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He's Demarcus Robinson. He's an empty calories player.
At least those guys sometimes score 2 touchdowns in a game.
Keyshawn Boutte, I believe he didn't he catch the first Drake May passing touchdown ever?
Maybe.
The 40-yarder on the right sideline.
Let's see. He has how many touchdowns? Yes, he has 1 touchdown this year. He's excellent.
Yeah. No, he's. Do you know the Keyshawn Boutte backstory? He was the #1 wide receiver recruit in the country, and he got suspended for being involved in orgies with the athletic trainer at LSU. Not true story.
Why would you get suspended for that? It sounds great.
So I think he got suspended actually for weed, but
Yeah.
then when he was suspended, it was like this whole other thing. It came out and then he ended up being the number one wide receiver recruit in the country to can't remember if he was a 7th-round pick or undrafted.
So DeVito with Connor, A-Chain, and Kenneth Walker are the 3 running backs. Booty, Jacoby Myers, another optimizer darling, and Justin Jefferson, Kelsey at tight end, and Bears D. I think the very simple fix to this, if you really don't like Tommy DeVito, is take him out, take Kelsey out. You said Phony Tony is the guy that other places like. So you throw in Richardson at 56, up from 4,000 to DeVito. You go to the flex and help. I mean, you can just put Kenneth Walker back in if you wanted to. And then you have like 5,400, I think. Yeah, 4,300 for a tight end. Is Hunter Henry lurking around? Like Hawkinson is $4,200. Like that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I'll spoiler alert, run the Sims and other sim providers when we get there on Sunday morning. Gonna want you to play a lot of 2 tight end lineups to get the expensive wide receivers. Like if you run it where you filter by wanting St. Brown, you filter it by wanting Nico or Jefferson or whoever, you're gonna end up with a ton of TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta style teams, which I think is fine, probably.
I'm shocked that the answer to tight end this week isn't Schoonmaker, because that's who I'm using.
I agree with you. Honestly, like that's who I would assume that the reason why is that either Ferguson is still in some projections or the projectors might be splitting it a little bit between Schoonmaker and Brevin Spanford. But Brevin Spanford is yeah, I mean he's basically a tackle. He went to the University of Minnesota. He's a blocker.
Yeah, he'll run his routes. Like we even saw that. I mean, part of that probably was because Ferguson left the game, and they're just like, well, you know, we're not good anyway, so we have no clue what we're doing. We'll just throw these guys out there and let them run routes. But
Right.
At $2,500, like I'd much rather pay down at tight end for Schoonmaker. I always thought it was Schoonmaker, but here we are. So Schoonmaker. He's
Schoonmaker.
So what is he? Fucking Michael Schumacher's brother, long distance cousin.
I have not cared enough to get into the backstory of the Schoonmaker family, but yeah, I'm assuming that if it's Macher, I guess that would mean he's probably German, right?
I would, or somewhere, a part of like Germany, Austrian, probably German, is where I would go. I'm going to Germany. I booked my flights, started booking my hotels.
To do what? To golf or just to relax?
No, my wife and I are going to go in April. We're doing a Benelux tour, but the reason that we're doing that was because, you know how big I am on getting these credit card points all the time. And so it's not only about getting the credit card points, it's about hacking the system on whatever airline website that you're going to find out where the best points deals are. So I found a really good one, direct flight from where I'm at to Frankfurt for like $0. It was great.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, so then you get to Frankfurt. It's a hub. Then so we're just going to like Luxembourg, Belgium, Amsterdam. It'll be great.
I'm jealous, man.
Never been. You've never been to Europe, though, have you?
Never been to Europe. No.
You should try that sometime.
I'm too poor, dude.
You're not too poor.
All I do is work.
You're like, oh, I have $8 trillion in Bitcoin. I am too poor to travel anywhere.
Well, if you trade that money, if you trade the Bitcoin for travel, you don't have the Bitcoin anymore.
Yeah, but you're not doing anything with the Bitcoin anyway.
Not yet.
You got big things
Not
planned
yet.
for your Bitcoin, do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna retire.
You're never
in 20 years.
You're never gonna retire.
You don't know that. I might.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. Anyway, I don't like this lineup because I don't like play. Like even Jacoby Myers. Like, do you like Jacoby Myers against Denver?
No, Jacoby Myers is basically an exact example of why projections are bad and why you need to learn to be smarter than projections. Because effectively, there is an upper limit in target share to which Jacoby Myers can reach because he is not the best player on his team. Brock Bowers is so much better. Scott Turner takes over the offense. The evidence we have of Scott Turner taking over the offense is that he does not give a shit about Jacoby Myers. It's all Brock Bowers. I mean, that's what his dad always did, right? That's the Turner school of offense. So yeah, I am really couldn't be more out on Jacoby Myers as like hard chalk. What does Run the Sims have him projected for ownership wise? In my sheet that I've got, I see him as the most owned wide receiver at right around 25%.
I have him as the third highest owned at 17% behind Sutton and Nico Collins, the same as Juwan
I mean,
Jennings.
that is awful. And that is just as bad as it gets.
Although I'm seeing Michael Pittman with a lot of ownership, which I mean, I get why. We'll get to that Indy game in a second, but there's no chance I'm playing Michael Pittman. Guy sucks.
He sucks and he's hurt. So you suck and you're hurt. That is a difficult combo. I would play Josh Downs, but yeah, no shot will I be playing Michael Pittman Jr.
Well, let's get to that game then. Let's start there with Detroit and Indianapolis. What do you think is the preferred build? So what we're going to do is build out like 4-man stacks, 5-man stacks, 3-man stacks from each of these games and go back. We'll save the lineups, go back and fill them in later once we've talked through everything to find out where we want to go. Obviously, the Richardson side of this game is going to be more popular. Do you think it's worth going back to Goff again?
I definitely think it's worth going back to Goff. Yeah, I think that is one of the easiest ways to build this week because you're not going to get a ton of that. If you're just using an optimizer, not a sim, you're not going to get very much of it. And the thing that's so funny about the Lions is they always have these crazy team totals, but their touches are distributed in such a way that it's really only ever Gibbs that projects like really well. And even Gibbs doesn't project as like an elite points per dollar guy because when they get there on efficiency. And when you get there on efficiency, that's just not the way projections work. So I think probably the easiest print money button in DFS this week is saying, I don't care about any of this nonsense. I don't care about Geno Smith or Kyler Murray or Brock Purdy with a banged up shoulder. I'm just playing a bunch of Lions.
So do you want to do Lions Onslaught again? I don't feel as good about the Lions Onslaught this week as I did last week.
I don't feel as good about it as I did last week. I played one of Montgomery or Gibbs in every lineup last week. I don't know if I will do that this week. And the thing that I wish about this team is that I wish they just had a third guy as a pass catcher. You know, I wish Tim Patrick ever got a target. I wish Sam Laporta ever got a target, and they just never get targets.
Well, Laporta's back. He's practicing in full. Like, would you consider going to him? Because right now I'm seeing Goff ownership at around 3%. So obviously Lion stacks are not going to be prevalent here.
Yes. Yeah, I would consider it. I don't know if I would be like, oh, this is the... Honestly, I probably really won't get there, actually. I probably would. In that lineup, I'd just be like, well, I'll just play Schoonmaker, and then I'll get to Jamison Williams instead of Demario Douglas.
Well, let's do that. Let's put the Schoon Dog in there. We'll put him in at $2,500. That gives us Amon-Ra. I know Amon-Ra's coming off the 40-point game. 8,300 seems so... It probably shouldn't seem like it's so much for him, but as the most expensive receiver on the slate, it's just weird to see.
No, I couldn't agree with you anymore because a lot of what we've seen from St. Brown this year is he basically gets like a pity touchdown. I mean, effectively, they're like, oh great, yeah, we're really glad you're here. Here is 4 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown while we're winning by $1 billion. It just honestly it felt like kind of a mistake that they did so well last week for that St. Brown did in fantasy because Gibbs and Montgomery only got like 20 apiece when they scored 50 or whatever.
Yeah, the main reason being that Goff coming off the 5 interception game was made to look foolish, so they had to get him right again.
Yeah, I don't think and Dan Campbell, he loves that stuff, man. He really does.
I agree. He's one of the few coaches that will actively implement that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you think they're not nearly as? Do you think they're not going to be as jazzed up to score this week?
I mean, they'll be as jazzed up to score, but they probably keep it on the ground a little bit more. That's why I struggle with the Goff side here. But we always know what the upside is going to be, and I still kind of like the Colts in the game, not to win, but like the spread's 7 right now. I would lean Indianapolis +7.
Sure, I got no issue with that.
So if that's the case, does that mean it's lower scoring, or does it become a boat race?
I think it becomes, really it all comes down to what does Anthony Richardson do? If Richardson makes some early mistakes, it's going to be over and they're going to crush. If Richardson plays well, if Jonathan Taylor runs well, you could see there's a pretty clear path to how this game fails, right? Where it's just Jonathan Taylor and Richardson are super effective running the ball. They don't push the ball down the field at all. and they just are because the Lions have this like really good run defense. No one runs against them, but like Anthony Richardson is kind of.
But is it? I always wonder about
That's
this.
the thing.
Like, is it actually a good run defense, or do teams just not run against them because they can't?
I think. I mean, far be it for me to like really diagnose Dan Campbell's defensive scheme and be like, oh, this is what he's doing that makes it impossible to run against them. But I would guess it's a little bit more of the latter than the former. Like, I think you can run on any team. The Colts offensive line is supposed to be very good. Taylor was bad last week, but I think, and I mean, the offensive line was awful against the Jets. So maybe that's just not true.
Maybe, but it did feel like that was a schematic thing with the Jets where they're like, you know what? The one thing that we cannot do in this game didn't work out anyway because they still lost. Was like, we're not letting Jonathan Taylor rush for 200 yards. Make Anthony Richardson beat us. And he did. But, you know, it came with some struggles from time to time, too.
I mean, man, Richardson was really good in that game. That final drive, weren't you so convinced in that game that he was going to mess up that final drive? And after playing so well, the Jets were actually going to wriggle their way out. I was pretty convinced, and that is not what happened.
No, I was just assuming he was going to fail. But then after watching the Jets in the second half, it was like, they can't do anything here. Well, why is their secondary so bad now?
You have to ask Robert Saleh. He's got all the answers, man. He's just sitting there looking at these teams failing like he thinks it's so funny. He has to.
So are there like, I don't know if I like a stack from this game. Like, would you want to play like Richardson, Downs, Gibbs?
Yeah, why not? Downs is just a great player. Like Downs in his last two starts with Richardson, wide receiver 4 and wide receiver 11. So yeah, I think it's Downs is like he's a very sneaky play because Richardson will be popular, but Richardson will not be popular stacked at all, which I think is always kind of interesting.
It does seem, as of right now, it does seem like Pittman is the one just because he comes in at the cheaper price. Like, would you triple this up? Like, would you throw in an Alec Pierce and hope for one of those long touchdowns?
No, because Pierce isn't even cheap. This is what they're doing over at DraftKings.
He's like $4,900. That's cheap.
No, I mean I would rather any of the Patriots guys, really.
I would not. Here's the thing: has anyone won money this year playing Patriots receivers?
Probably people won money last week with Kendrick Bourne because of the salary requirements, and he scored more points than Booty. I would guess they did.
Well, how many points did Kendrick Bourne score? Like 11?
Yeah, like 11.
I mean, you probably didn't need him. You probably could have found someone in the $4,000 range and fudged it that way.
He was 3,100 last week.
I get how cheap he was.
The Millie Maker winner last week. This is very funny. The Millie Maker, the $20 Millie, so like the lottery one, had Audric Estime's 5.5 points in their lineup, which I just think is very funny.
With Taysom Hill and a bunch of Lions?
Taysom Hill and a bunch of Lions.
Well, that was the move. So Richardson, Downs, who is the Lion that we want to bring it back with? Is it Gibbs? Is it Montgomery? Is it St. Brown?
Yeah, Gibbs.
Do you just throw in a
Gibbs.
Jameson Williams to save the money here?
No, it's Gibbs for me, for sure.
All right, so that'll be our first shell here. Richardson, Downs, and Gibbs. The game that I want to focus on, and I don't know how to do it. So this is the game that I think probably ends up as, I don't know if it's going to be the highest scoring, but I see a lot of concentrated fantasy points in it, is Washington and Dallas. And I just want to play Brian Robinson. I love Brian Robinson this week.
Yeah, Brian Robinson is probably my favorite play this week. The thing is do you want to play Brian Robinson if he's on 27% of teams? And
I don't think he
I
gets.
I don't know if I have an answer to that.
I don't think that he gets that high. Maybe he does, but just now that Christian McCaffrey is back, like 1/4 of the field is just clicking Christian McCaffrey every time.
Well, the thing is 3 running back constructions are just going to be far and away the most popular this week, you know? So I don't know. Does that make us like Brian Robinson Jr. and Christian McCaffrey are going to also have very high combinatorial ownership?
Sure.
You know?
I'm good with not playing McCaffrey. But I like, if just to kind of build this out, like Brian Robinson, and to take a look at the rest of like the mid-tier range. Like I like Connor at 65. I like Tyrone Tracy at 6,000. I mean, I don't like Pollard, but I guess I could be talked into that. Kareem Hunt at 50. I think Kareem Hunt at 5,700 is going to be more owned and more popular than Brian Robinson.
No, it'll be whatever the projections say. I mean, I'll say I like Kareem Hunt more than Brian Robinson.
You just said that Brian Robinson was probably your favorite play.
Well, I lied. It's tough doing this on a Friday because like you have to couch it in. I actually like Kareem Hunt more if Pacheco plays because that is going to take his ownership from 28.4% to like 9%. And at 9% with Pacheco getting like 6 touches, Hunt is like the best leverage play of the slate.
I don't think that Pacheco's going to play. Do you?
I mean, he's got a limited practice in all week, so I don't know. Generally speaking, what the Chiefs like to do is they like to bring these guys back from injury, and let them get a little bit of game time in, and then be closer to a full go the next week.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Friday practice report yet, but let's just live in a world where the luminaries such as Zamir White and Alexander Madison do not play against Denver. Do you have any interest in Amir Abdullah?
Yeah. I mean, I believe he's 4,200.
Yeah,
So you can do quite a bit.
43.
Yeah, you could do a lot with that. I think that is the exact type of like vomit style play that most people don't want to make. But like, oh, Amir Abdullah catching 1 billion checkdowns against the Denver Broncos. Like, I don't know, he could pretty easily outscore Laporta, Hawkinson, like all these other like Demario Douglas, all these other guys right there.
Yeah, how much? Demario Douglas isn't that cheap, is he?
He's 4,400, I believe.
He's 44. It's a good price. He's the one Patriots receiver I actually like and that I actually do play. But I usually just keep him to my underdog entries, be like, oh, higher whatever his reception total is, because it's always like 3.5, and he has 6 catches a game.
It is always too low. That's true.
He and Hunter Henry, because Hunter Henry either smashes his reception total or comes nowhere near it.
Comes nowhe're close.
Yeah, but I like that though. Like that is the same thing as the Darnell Washington thing that keeps his projection so low that it's easy to clear for him because he'll just have these games with like 1 yard. It's like, all right, well, I lost, big deal. He's hit it in like 4 of the 5 other games. That's okay.
Yeah, it's when you lose, what is most tilting in gambling is losing when it's close. But like if you don't even have to sweat it, well then why even tilt? There's no point, man.
So, do you like Jaden Daniels at all here? Because I don't. It looks like he's going to be pretty highly owned.
No, I'm with you, and that concerns me if both of us, as like certified donkeys, both don't like a guy who's projected for the most points at the position, but I really don't like him. I think this game is not going to be that competitive. I think that Dallas probably gets blown out. Daniels' rushing has been way down from the ribs. What Daniels was adding as a rusher was mostly on scrambles, but there's no reason to scramble when you're, what are they, 8.5-point favorites or whatever?
10 point favorites. Give it a 10.
10-point favorites. Yeah. So for me, that's just like okay, Dallas would have to push them. Do I think Dallas can push them? I don't really think they can. Now, obviously, if Dallas does push them, then you're looking at like, oh, well, we should have played CeeDee, we should have played McLaurin, we should have played Daniels, and I don't know. And I don't like stacking Daniels either. It feels like McLaurin like doesn't have a 30-point ceiling really. I don't believe he's gotten a 30 yet this year because of the game he scored 2 touchdowns. He didn't get the bonus.
Yeah,
don't love Noah Brown.
In the game that he scored the 2 touchdowns, I think he had like 4 catches or something.
Yeah, I believe it was 4 for 60 and 2. So
sorry, it was 3 for 19 and 2 touchdowns against the Giants in week 9.
Jesus.
And then he was 6 for 53 for 2 and scored like when you score 2 touchdowns on 6 catches and score 23 DraftKings points, it's not great.
It's not great. Yeah, that would also be my assertion. I might legitimately. I'm not even being funny. I might actually rather stack him with Zach Ertz.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. Like if you went Daniels in let's say it's Noah Brown. Because I saw maybe it was you who tweeted it out. Someone tweeted out a stat about how Dallas is giving up these like points to receivers, but it's never coming from the left side of the field, and that's where McLaurin plays, and they don't really move him around at all. So it would
they don't move him around.
It would just be Noah Brown on the other side with all these, and a revenge game for Noah Brown. Don't forget about that.
That's true. The Chiefs chose not to pay Noah Brown. They cut him. They let him go to the Texans. He had his first 100-yard game.
Listen to
since
you,
high school.
A relapsed Cowboys fan, now a Chiefs fan, calling the Cowboys the Chiefs.
Oh wow, that is so funny. Yeah. The Cowboys, cut him. He had his one of my favorite trivias in football is that Noah Brown did not have a 100-yard game at Ohio State playing with Justin Fields and CJ Stroud, and did not have one playing with Dak Prescott for the Cowboys, but did have two 100-yard games consecutively for the Houston Texans last year.
And one of those got me a seat into King of the Beach, which was very nice, using Noah Brown that week. That was awesome. So let's go Daniels, because I don't think you can build one of these lineups. I mean, obviously you can, but this is the perfect spot to use Schoonmaker. I'm actually kind of thinking that maybe I just want to go Brian Robinson Schoonmaker from this game.
Let's do it. Schoonmaker. So like Davis Allen last week, very fragile.
No, there was another one that I didn't play. Like, what were people thinking?
That they would play Colby Parkinson for 2,500.
No, the point would be that like what was Davis Allen's upside? Like let's just talk this through here. What's Schoonmaker's upside? Like relative average, his median, and what do you expect him to do? Like I'm seeing like in my mind, like obviously you hope that they score a touchdown, but with Schoonmaker, he might be the number 2 receiving threat on this team behind CeeDee Lamb. With Davis Allen, the concern was always going to be he could be 6th on the touchdown pecking order. So his 4 for 28 isn't super useful when he's not even attempting to score a touchdown.
He was actually open on the play that Parkinson scored the touchdown. I mean, it's neither here nor there, but he was leaking out and Stafford could have hit him and then did the deep ball instead. Yeah, Schoonmaker upside, I don't know, like
7 for 50 and a touchdown?
Oh, that just seemed high. I was thinking like 5 for 38 and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's like the same general area.
You know what I was really thinking? I was thinking, do you remember Ian Thomas for the Panthers like 3 years ago? Whenever Greg Olsen would be out, that was exactly what I was thinking.
I could see it going that way, although I feel like Schoonmaker's had games before. But maybe I'm just confusing him with Jake Ferguson when Dalton Schultz was still there.
I think you are, because he's a second-year rookie who's barely played because he was injured.
10 targets last week, man. 10
targets. Yeah.
Ferguson's
No, I think Schoonmaker is kind of exactly what you look for in a punt tight end.
Yeah, and 2,500, like it's the absolute stone min you can play. So you don't even really need, like, if you're gonna do Daniels, Brown, and Ertz, then like maybe you end up. Do you like any other Cowboys? Like, do you like Dowdle? Do you like Lamb?
I kind of like Dowdle because he works well in the passing game and would get any potential goal line work. And the Commanders' run defense has been pretty poor. And Dowdle is like obviously super leverage, like salary leverage and game leverage on Brian Robinson.
Yeah, Washington, the 4th worst run defense in the league. Unfortunately, Dallas can't run. That's an issue. Or they might just be like, it could be one of those games where it's like, yeah, Dowdle's running well, but you know what we need? Deuce Vaughn. Let's get him in there.
Went to my alma mater. We're two very short men who went to Kansas State University and went on to great things.
Were you there at the same time as Deuce Vaughn?
No, he's like 23.
Yeah,
I was at K-State the same time as Tyler Lockett.
He's still kicking.
Still kicking. Me and Tyler Lockett still kicking.
Let's talk about that game then, because if you can find the fantasy points in this one, it feels like there could be a ton. Do you like the Arizona side or the Seattle side better?
I think I like the Arizona side slightly better. I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, man,
why is Kyler so cheap?
Marvin Harrison Jr. 6,100, Kyler 6,200, Trey McBride 5,400, James Conner's like always 6,700 and kind of like just like always gets 17 points. I think there's a lot of playable pieces in this game.
I think that's going to be maybe let's try to fill out an underdog entry as we go through this. I'll have to go look it up, but it feels like James Conner over receiving yards and over receptions has been like a lock the past 3 weeks.
So it wasn't for a while because they were playing DeMarcado so much on,
but now
third downs. Yeah, they don't have it. They got no James Conner. Well, at least not in America. Yeah, no receiving stuff for James Conner.
Past 5 games for James Conner: 5 for 80, 3 for 12, 2 for 16, 2 for 51, 4 for 22, 2 for 14. Like I've been using him on receiving yards over. Do you know what his like standard receiving line is on underdog?
8.5 receiving yards would be my guess.
10.5, which he has beaten 6 straight games.
Yeah, sign me up. I don't have it's not available. Maybe it's available for you up north, but I don't have it yet.
It's not out yet. I'm not seeing it here either, but I'm guessing that it probably does finally go up a little bit. Yeah, I'm only seeing rushing attempts and rushing yardage right now, but I'll bet it's like 13 and a half. If it's anything
13
lower
and a
than
half is
is fair.
13 and a half is pretty close.
Yeah, but I mean, he still beat that in what, 4 or 5 games?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Seattle did just ratchet up the pressure last week. Maybe it's because it was the Rams' offensive line, but they were in the backfield far more than they are on a normal week basis.
The thing is the thing with Connor is that his passes often have to be designed because Kyler does not check down.
No, but they're doing that now, though. I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right. I mean, really, the deal is he just needs DeMarcado to not play every third down, which has not been happening the last 3 weeks.
So let's just do Marv, McBride, and Kyler. Who is? I mean, the logical Seahawk is Kenneth Walker in this spot, or do you? Just
I'm
say
doing
JSN?
I'm doing JSN.
Of course.
Yeah.
And why is it that JSN is your guy?
I was
now?
out on him. Well, basically, what's happened is he's getting targeted at a real depth. That is the biggest thing. Is that the huge experience of JSN's career has been. I mean, last year I believe he was the lowest average depth of target in all of football. But I think what Ryan Grubb realized was we are never going to be able to win because Lockett doesn't have it. So we are never going to be able to win with him playing this way. So now we don't have DK Metcalf. Let's just see if he can play as a real wide receiver. And his ADOTs since Metcalf were injured. So before his ADOT was below 7 yards. So like insanely low. That is really, really low for a full-time player. Since Metcalf got injured, 10.6, 9.2, 7, 20.3, and then 8.4 the last 5 weeks. So basically, the Seahawks were just like, well, let's try and see if he can be a real wide receiver. And the answer has been yes.
So it was 8.4 a week ago when DK played.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and Metcalf's that week. Let's see. I wonder what Metcalf's. Yeah, I mean, Metcalf's obviously very high, 12.1. I mean, Metcalf also a great play. I would not ever say don't play DK Metcalf. He's a grown man.
It just feels like Walker's on the verge of a big game and doesn't quite get there ever. It's been a lot of like 13 to 15 point DraftKings performances because he's just not finding the end zone. I mean, he found the end zone last week and it was just a bad game. Then they didn't use him in the past.
He's got to break off the long one.
Yeah.
That's the style of runner he is. When he doesn't break off the long one, he doesn't get there.
So yeah, maybe JSN is the spot here. So Murray, Harrison, JSN, and McBride, and it gets us off the chalky piece of this game, which is going to be James Conner, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be one of the guys I play to try and get a little bit unique. So I'm hoping that that no one really joins me on that.
What am I seeing him at right now? Well, he's behind your boy, the Booty Man, and Devon Vale in terms of ownership. So that's probably a positive sign.
Can't even believe that guy's a real player, Devon Vale. He's 26 years old.
Hey, look, Denver has creative players at wide receiver.
They really, it's so true. They do literally have creative players, like just the most random guys in the world.
Well, I suppose we should talk about that game because Bo Nix is still pretty cheap, and he's playing the Raiders, and it's indoors. Like, did you just say
Nix and Sutton?
Just that's it? I can't talk you into my main man, Krull, who gets 0 points a week?
You cannot talk me into Kroll because of the existence of Schoonmaker.
Yeah, I guess that's true. On this slate, like just why fuck around with
why
Troutman?
yeah. It's, I mean, Nate Adkins is catching touchdowns. You know, like literally, like what are we hoping for? Are we hoping that Kroll gets would it even be possible?
No,
for Lucas Kroll to have an 8 target game.
No, it's
so.
Literally impossible.
It's literally impossible. Yeah.
Is there, and because Josh Reynolds is going to be back this week too. I don't know what healthcare provider that you have. I don't quite understand American healthcare, but whatever the NFL healthcare program is where I want to be. You can be shot and then back on the field in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, the American healthcare system, you don't want any part of that. You want
really? You don't think I want to be? I don't want to be shot, but if I did, I'm telling you, like a 3-week recovery time sounds pretty good to me. That sounds good.
Well, let me tell you, in America, they're very used to treating gunshot victims. Probably you do get better gunshot wound care in the United States of America than you get in Canada because the doctors and nurses would be more used to what needs to be done.
How about Knicks, Sutton with Abdullah, and then because obviously the want
let's
here.
we got to do Bowers. If we're stacking this game, we got to do Bowers.
Okay, so that was going to be my question. Do you have to do Bowers here?
Have to do Bowers. I mean, just like, I don't know. Imagine ever playing a fantasy slate and not having at least one Bowers team.
And this is the spot to do it. Do you flip it and say, hey, maybe Minshew can actually throw here, or is this just like a no-go for the Raiders side? Like Bowers or
I just think Minshew is so close to getting benched. Like once you invoke the name of Desmond Ridder, you can't uninvoke it because you've watched, people are familiar with Desmond Ritter's game. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like the coaches think Desmond Ritter's good, so they got to be really fed up with Minshew.
He got benched the last time that they played Denver, but it was for AOC that time.
Yeah. I mean, he's been benched for like a series. Like Ridder came in like 2 weeks ago.
It was good.
I'm not making that up. That did happen.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. He did come in towards the end of the game and like looked competent. But guys can look competent on 2 series against prevent defenses. So like when Penix comes in the game for Atlanta, or who was it last week? Who's the Lions dude? Hendon Hooker. When he comes in, it's like, oh yeah,
Hendon Hooker.
He's fun against Jacksonville's B team defense.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, look, I believe they did not punt in that game.
So if we go Nick, Sutton, and Bowers, it leaves us with 5,200 left. Do you ever do the double tight end? Like, is this a spot where you go Bowers, Schoonmaker?
Oh yeah, I do double tight end. I mean, that's kind of been the story of the season. If you're using the Sims, you're probably playing double tight end every single week because whatever the way the DraftKings algorithm works, tight ends like who are like the third option on their team are like 15% less expensive than if they were a wide receiver with the same target profile.
So if that's what we're going to do to find like the punt play, because I don't like these $3,000 receivers. So Schoonmaker becomes the better option for me at 2,500. It saves more money, but then I don't get to play 3 running backs in that spot at the same time. Do you think it's worth doing that or punting off one of the running back spots for Amir Abdullah in this game and just hope it only goes to 2 places? Abdullah in the passing game and Bowers in the passing game.
I think that is an example of like a way to get to go against the chalk lineup construction. So like I probably like it. I mean, I don't know how much I'm gonna try and attack this game in like my personal play or whatever. But if I did do it, it would be Nick, Sutton, Bowers, Abdullah, I think.
Who would be the other Raiders running back if both White and Madison don't go?
My boy, my friend Dylan Lauby, the guest of my podcast, great guy.
Dylon?
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, their season is lost. So he hasn't played special teams. They kept him on the 53-man roster all year. I don't really know what the deal is there. I do wonder if they play both of them though, if Abdullah or if Madison and White are out.
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of the Amir Abdullah experience over the course of my life, and they're very rarely going to turn around and hand the ball to Amir Abdullah 20 times in a game. Unfortunately, there's like 6.5 point dogs now that you would expect them to be passing a ton, which I would expect then to see a ton of Amir Abdullah.
And Minshew is a check down king.
Abdullah seems better served for underdog over 2.5 receptions, something like that.
Sure, over higher 16.5 receiving yards or whatever.
Yeah, well, whatever it ends up coming out to, just hit the higher, and you'll probably be good.
Let's see if he's got anything. Yeah, he doesn't have anything yet.
With those injury concerns, it would be a bit of an issue. So we'll throw Schoonmaker in there for right now. The other one, we'll talk about your team, the Chiefs. We've already mentioned Kareem Hunt. He's obviously going to be popular. What do you make on the Carolina side of the ball with Brooks being back? Does this actually work out well for Chuba Hubbard, knowing that Brooks do you think that Brooks gets 10 touches in this game?
Probably more like 6 or something. I don't know. They're not going to score any points though. Running backs never score any points. James Cook got 2 touchdowns against them and had 17 points. Yeah. He might not have even gotten 17.
Is there anyone from the Carolina side you could see playing?
I don't know. Maybe Leggett, but he's not even cheap.
No, I was thinking Jatavion Sanders, but he's up to 34, and now Thielen's probably going to be back, which I actually think hurts him the most of anyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, they're going to score 10 points and they're going to be terrible. Like, it's just, I don't this would be a spot that I would use no bring back. It would be, I would think of this game. Obviously, the Lions or the Chiefs are not anywhere near as good as the Lions, but I would think about them the same way. I'd be like, I would just be like, you're not like the last week, you were not using any Jaguars bringbacks with the Lions.
No, that's true. So if you were to build up the passing stack, do you just go full bore? Mahomes, Kelsey, Hopkins?
I would probably do Worthy this week just
Oh my
because he's
God.
cheaper. And I mean, he had what, 5 for 64 and 1 last week after getting benched after the long throw. So, and his target share has been, I mean, it stayed solid. He just is a bad player, but
Oh, so you're on. He's a
sometimes
bad
bad
player now.
players get there.
That is a big reversal from when we talked 3 months ago about how great Xavier Worthy is.
well, I got to watch him play a ton. He just doesn't have the attention to detail that is required right now to be a good NFL wide receiver. Not to say he cannot acquire it, but right now he just is not. He seems to not be focused enough. And Mahomes doesn't really trust him. Like on the long one last week against the Bills, where they lose the game basically because they had to punt after that. Mahomes either could have led him towards the end zone, which would have given the defensive back a chance to catch up to it, or thrown it to the sideline where the defensive back can't get it but takes a touchdown out. And Mahomes chose to do the sideline because he doesn't trust him to fight for the ball against the defensive back. So the team knows he doesn't have the attention to detail also.
Maybe it's just Hunt or nothing for me in this game. Probably don't want to stack it. I'm finding it like after talking through some of the games that I do like it's hard to build lineups out of it.
Yeah, I think you want to have a little bit of Kelsey this week. Noah Gray with the 2 touchdowns last week. I mean, this is as cupcake of an opposition as you are going to find.
Introducing to you the TGL presented by SoFi Golf's newest league live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. This is a simulator plus real chipping, real grass, and real green league featuring some of the PGA Tour's biggest players like Tiger and Rory and Xander. Only 2-hour matches inside of a stadium and has other sporting elements like timeouts, refs, and overtime. You tee off from real grass into a screen. You might end up in the rough, or sand, real sand, and have to play it back into the screen out of there after that. They use the technology to drop it by a real greenside area plus a real putting surface, getting everyone involved in the contest. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. To learn more, visit tglgolf.com and tune into the inaugural season beginning January 7th. Keep up. It's golf. We're at the time of year where people are going to ask you what you want for a gift, and you're going to say, I don't want anything, or I don't know. Here's an answer. Doer. My Doer pants I got last week are the most comfortable pieces of clothing that I own. I got a pair of denim stretch jeans and these joggers. These joggers are amazing. You get them in a whole bunch of colors, but they don't look like joggers. So when you go out into public, I mean, we would wear crappy jogging pants out in public because they're so comfortable all the time, but then people see you're like, who is this absolute goober walking around in his joggers wearing his pajamas? No. The Doer joggers look so good. They are lightweight, they are stylish, they are relaxed, and beyond anything, they again are the most comfortable things I own. I wore them like 3 days in a row, which is a lot for a pair of pants. I absolutely love my Doers, and I know you're gonna love them too. Check out Doer's flagship stores in LA or Denver, or shop online at shopdoer.com/PME. Right now, here's the thing. My listeners, you good people, listening to the Pat Mayo Experience, get 20% off your first purchase when you use my exclusive URL, shopdoer.com/PME. This is an awesome deal. Don't wait. Go get 20% off right now at shopdoer.com/PME. Do you worry at all about any of the weather? Because obviously how fun was the Thursday night game? And I saw people complaining about it. Be like, look, we get one of these games a year, maybe 2, and that's fun. If we had one every week, the snow games wouldn't be fun. But to have them like periodically pop up, especially at this time of year, where you just wouldn't expect it in mid-November. I mean, maybe you would like 30 years ago. We just haven't seen a ton of that over the past few years. It was just enjoyable to watch, even though the game was kind of trash. It made it fun.
No, if that is like kind of like what football is all about. It's awesome. It was great. Jameis, he's got the communication mic dangling out of his helmet as he scores. That was awesome.
Because I do like this Bucks and Giants game. Just I like Evans, I like Rashad White, I like Baker, I like Otton, but it's gonna be cold. It might be raining and like 20-mile-per-hour winds in New York. Like that doesn't sound fun.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I hope the weather doesn't ruin any of these games. I tend to believe that fantasy players, by and large, overreact to things like that. They specifically when it's not really impacting in the line. Now on Thursday night, the line did move a good bit from open, and then ended up going over. Right, ended up going over because it's just kind of the way it goes. You know, it's like
but I would think that like look, you could be right that the over can hit in these games when it's factored in. But one thing that you do notice that I find at least outside of like these bad weather games, even if the over gets there, they're usually in unusual, weird ways that don't necessarily translate to fantasy points for your team.
Well, sure, certainly that is true. I mean, oftentimes fantasy points don't translate to my teams, Pat.
No, but it's like in these like when you get broken plays or you get turnovers that create short fields, like the defenses end up doing pretty well. But you know, like who got there in that game on Thursday night, despite the fact that the over hit? Calvin
Warren.
Austin.
That was really it.
Yeah, Warren and Calvin Austin. That's it.
Yeah.
Chubb.
It does that to you're I think you're right. It does limit play volume to a certain degree. Teams are just they're not, running hurry up and probably not normally running their regular stuff, I would assume.
No, I would actually think that the punt plays and the off the board guys are probably better. And listen, the having 48 degrees, 25-mile-per-hour winds and raining is not what we saw on Thursday night. So I'm not saying it's apples to apples in this situation. But at the same time, if I'm playing Mike Evans at his price tag, I kind of want him to have 11 targets in the game and the ball not sailing everywhere too.
That's true. I mean, I probably am just off this game entirely. Like even Baker is not that interesting to me. This feels like Bucky Irving and Tyrone Tracy to me. I don't think either team is really going to want to throw the ball or be effective at doing it.
So I agree with you. Tracy is on that level for me with Kareem Hunt and with maybe that. Let's do that. Let's throw those three into a lineup and just see what we have left. We'll go because those are the three like cheap running backs that I like, and they're not like cheap, but Tracy is 6,000. Hunt is 57, and Brian Robinson is 56, I believe.
56.
So you throw those three in, you have 5,400. You could basically stack up anyone you want. It's just I don't think that we found the team to stack up. There was, I like Rashad White in this game too. You said Bucky Irving. That's where my initial thought went. But they've just been basically over the past 2 weeks, and maybe it's changed now that Evans is going to be back, but they've been using an awful lot of Rashad White, way more than you would expect.
Yeah, he is a good pass catcher. That's kind of the funny thing.
But they're using him on the ground now too.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. It's actually his snap shares are amongst his lowest of the season in these games that he has been crushing. Like his best game of the season, he played fewer than 50% of the snaps. While Bucky is trending way up, but Bucky is not getting nearly as much passing game usage. I mean, Bucky has been good. Right? He's 17 points in week 10. I probably am still on Bucky, but I see the argument for Rashad White. The big thing is that Sean Tucker is not playing at all anymore. Sean Tucker did not register an offensive snap in week 10.
Yeah, he had his moment against New Orleans, and that was it. And he got a bit of extra usage because of it the next week. Then he just went away.
Every rest in peace to everyone's fab dollars that they spent on him.
Trying to see Tennessee 8th in run defense, 18th in pass defense. So Houston and Tennessee. I think this might actually be the spot with this build that we just had. Tracy, Hunt, and Robinson. We've already used our 3 running back slots. There's no Pollard for us in this game, and there's no Mixon because we now can't fit him in because we've already used 3 running backs. What if this is a spot to go Stroud and Nico? We just hope that finally goes off, and then pair him with like Ridley on the other side, or no one from the Tennessee side of the ball, and just be like, hey, there is the expensive stack that I want. No one's going to be on Stroud with the way that he's playing, but we know that Nico can kind of carry Stroud by himself to get there, and if Tennessee can actually take out Mixon, or at least limit what he can do in this spot, they could go crazy.
I mean, Of course, I get it. I am just as fish brained as everyone else. I'm like, CJ Stroud, man, he stinks. They don't want to throw. So why fight it? Why fight it? Just play Joe Mixon, you know. But Tennessee's run defense is good. Their pass defense is poor. I don't know. I don't think I can talk myself into it, but I absolutely see why good players will probably have a bunch of that stack.
Is there another player you would go to from that team, or you just be like, no, it's Nico, it's Stroud, and that's what you need to hit?
I would. I don't know.
Dell doesn't do anything.
If I was,
man, Dell doesn't do shit.
no, I was thinking Schultz maybe.
Ugh.
You know, maybe Schultz 3 for 40 and a touchdown.
But is it
possibly.
even worth paying his price at that point just to correlate your lineup when you could have Schoonmacher for $1,000 less, who you're trying to get the same thing out of? And then you can spend elsewhere.
Honestly, no. Honestly, probably not at all.
Any Minnesota Chicago fun for you?
I do think there's something there with how cheap DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are with the new offensive coordinator. Caleb Williams had the lowest time to throw of any quarterback in any game this season. Last week, he was just getting it out really quick, which obviously suits itself towards DJ Moore in like the screen game. Keenan Allen, you know, running the close to the line of scrimmage stuff, not as good, obviously, for Adunze. And I'm not expecting the Bears to be able to run all that well. I'm also expecting them to trail in this game. So I think those two Bears guys, more I probably really like at 5,500.
San Francisco and Green Bay is tough because of Purdy's shoulder right now. I think that he is going to play, but he might not be close to 100%. It's a 47 total. Green Bay is now favored by 3 in this spot. Like, where are the pieces that do you just play Juwan Jennings every single week until he gets to be $7,000? Okay.
Probably until he gets to be $9,000. I mean, this guy, I just like, it is unbelievable how much better he is than every other player on that team. Like Debo might as well not exist for these game plans anymore. Like
dude is coming off pneumonia.
Yeah, and he is. This will probably be the lowest owned that he will be in a main slate all season. But I don't know, man. I have donated so much money to the Church of Debo this year. Just like probably no player who has not suffered a season-ending injury probably has not cost me more money this year than Mr. Samuel.
So do you like stacking this game up, be it from the Purdy or Love side? So how do you
this
stack it up?
It's a must-win game for both teams, like for playoffs. I mean, if the 49ers lose here, their season's probably over, and the Packers are theoretically live for a home playoff game, not against the Lions, obviously, not to get the 1 seed, but they could end up being the higher wild card. So they need to be, well, actually they could, if they lose this game, it could get pretty thin if Minnesota wins.
The higher wild card team does not get a home game.
If they're up against the other wild card team, though?
How often do wild card teams play each other in the playoffs?
I assume basically never, but look at the teams that are the best teams in the NFC right now.
The Eagles, the Lions.
Two historically fail organizations. Lions, fail organization.
So what you're thinking is that this is going to be like a Kurt Warner Cardinals situation.
Yeah.
Or
I think the NFC. I think the NFC kind of sets up like that. Like if you're telling me that the Lions wouldn't it be the most Lions thing of all time to have this incredible year? They're the toast of the town. Everyone loves them. And they lose in the divisional round to like Sam Darnold. You're telling me that is not the fitting end to this story?
No, but then you have to think that Minnesota wins a playoff game too, which is tough based on their history. If we're just going on history of these franchises.
So then you go in a circle. I mean, obviously I'm not trying to short the Lions. Point being, I think that both teams are effectively treating this like a must-win game. That is the point that I'm trying to make.
Okay, then let's build out a lineup. Which side do you want to start with? What quarterback do you want to go with?
I want Purdy, McCaffrey, Jennings. That's your Davis Mattek grade A stack of the week.
Purdy, McCaffrey, Jennings. Okay. No Kittle, no Debo, no Ricky Bullets.
I mean, obviously you can play Debo. I'm a Jaden Reed guy. I prefer Green Bay Debo to San Francisco Debo.
He's cheaper. He's only 5,900, so we'll throw in Reed. So that's what you want to stack up: Purdy, McCaffrey, Jennings, and Reed.
Yeah.
This is a Schoonmacher.
So we're gonna have to use Schoonmacher.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is a
yeah.
Schoonmacher lineup if there ever was one. And and the one thing I do like about using Schoonmacher is that if you are looking for any sort of like in-game using someone on both sides of the ball, that Brian Robinson just fits with him so easily.
True. I'm trying to see if there's a cheap wide receiver. This could be a lineup for one of the Patriots guys. Could be a lineup for Keenan Allen. Could be a lineup for Christian. We could use Christian Watson. We could use both of them.
Yeah. Would you ever consider using Jacobs here?
Like conceptually, yeah, sure, why not? But it's like I'm looking at my stuff, and he's like the 9th points per dollar running back.
Do you know who the 4th points per dollar wide receiver is? He's in this game, and he plays for Green Bay.
Is it Dobbs?
It is.
Yeah, I got no issue there.
So if we do that, why don't we just play Jordan Love?
I like Purdy better, but it's fine. Purdy's running a little bit.
He is. Maybe he has to tone that down a little bit because it's getting him hurt now.
Possibly. Yeah, I guess he did injure his shoulder, so maybe he won't be scrambling as much this week.
So let's see the quarterback ownerships right now. Just every time I click on points per dollar and see Tommy DeVito at the top, it makes me actively mad.
I know, it's so tilting.
Brock Purdy 4%. Jordan Love, I don't even see him on here. There he is, 3%. So he's lower owned. Yeah, he's $300 more than Purdy, but I mean, this 5-man stack this game, hopefully it goes over and like you're rolling in it here. And we found the guys that we can put with him. Like this lineup kind of builds itself, really. You go Brian Robinson, you go Schoonmacher. I'll pull this one up in a sec here. And then the defense go Bears D against Sam Darnold or whatever cheap D that you like.
Bears D is like the super chalk of the week, and I am not fighting that at all.
Well, is there another of the cheap Ds that you like?
Not nearly that much. I mean, just raw points, the Bears defense are like top 8.
Giants against Baker, I could see working as well. Just, I already mentioned the weather in that game. If they throw a bunch, I think Thibodeau is back for them as well, so they'll generate even more pressure. I really like the Bucks, but I've bet on games with large spreads with the Bucks this year, and Baker's thrown 3 picks, and they've still covered.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's like that's the thing. The thing that you want with a defense is you just want them to face a bunch of passing attempts.
Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the Bucks are still going to throw the ball a ton. Oh, unfortunately, that we couldn't get to a cheaper D. If we got to a cheaper D, we could have Amon-Ra in this lineup.
I think that's fine. I don't think how much do you want Amon-Ra without pieces of that game? I don't know.
I mean, I would have liked him last week.
I guess. Well, and you would have shipped it.
Hey, you know what? With the way that we've constructed this lineup, we don't even need the cheap defense because the cheap defense leaves us with 8,100, which is Justin Jefferson, which I don't want to say that I don't like Justin Jefferson. I just don't think it's like a great opportunity.
It's not going to happen for him this year. For whatever reason, he is not going to have the blow up game this year. I don't know why. We're all being punished, but it's not happening.
Okay, so let's say this. We have McCaffrey in this lineup already. We can't afford Brown or Jefferson. Who would be the next best player on this slate? You play anyone on this slate, who would it be?
Next best player on the entire slate. A-Chain.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, let's throw in A-Chain. So A-Chain's the flex against us. That leaves us with the defense. We have 3,100 for the defense. We can go, Jesus. There's no good defenses here. Dolphins, Niners,
that's what I'm saying, dude.
Seahawks.
You just play the Bears.
And we can play Nico instead of A-Chain now if we play the Bears D.
Not for me, but you're paying.
Listen, you can use, instead of doing that, you can use Broncos D, and then into your flex, you can go Gibbs. You can go Gibbs if you want to. Like, do you think that Gibbs is that much worse than A-Chain?
Gibbs is the better tournament play. Yeah, sure.
So let's do that instead. We'll put Gibbs in at the flex or however you want to rearrange your lineup, and then Broncos D. So I'll bring this one up in a sec. So that's how we'll do the Packers and 49ers game. The other game that's left is the A-Chain game, the New England-Miami game. I am considering, and this might be the all-time fish move, is just avoid all of this weather. Just play like one specific lineup that's good weather and indoor games and see how that goes. And this is going to be a good weather game.
I like it. I think this is this might be the spot to deploy May because
I think everyone will think that. Could if everyone's using A-Chain and people know that these New England wide receivers are so cheap, then you can fit in McCaffrey and whoever. Isn't this just the spot to be like Tua, A-Chain, Tyreek?
Yes. Yeah. I think we could easily see a return to that. In fact, that is probably, of all the analysis we've given on this show, that is probably the thing that is most likely to lead people to wealth on Sunday night.
And then you go, what? Harry Doug? Throw him in there? $4,500?
Why not?
Easy.
Why not?
You got $5,000 left. All right, so I finally put the lineup up on the screen. So we got Tua, A-Chain, Tyreek Hill, and Demario Douglas, who I, for whatever reason, whenever I see his name, I call him Harry Douglas because I'm getting old, and that's just the first Douglas name that pops into my mind.
I was going to say, because you've been playing fantasy sports for 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know why Harry Douglas sticks out in my mind so much, but that's where we're at. Super Demario, Pop Douglas at 45. So let's try to fill this out. I get into a bad habit of this on the show where I'm like, oh, there's like the stock plays that I'm using. I mean, it shows that these are the plays that I'm going to play and that I like, but just very easily, Schoonmaker, Brian Robinson.
No issue with that. Brett, those are two of the best total plays of the slate. I would say you could do, if you're doing Schoonmaker, you could do Dowdle and just say Cooper Rush and the Cowboys lay the pipe down in a divisional game.
No. Cooper Rush threw for 350 yards on Monday night and had like 8 fantasy points.
Well, wait, who had 8 fantasy points? Rico?
No, Cooper Rush, didn't he?
No, he had 20. I won the showdown.
Oh yeah, because Turpin got there for him, didn't he? With the long
64-yard touchdown. Yeah, it's like 18% on Cooper Rush shipped for me.
One of the best underdog props that you can actually go to on a weekly basis if it opens at 2.5 or 3.5 is the Cooper Rush lower rushing total.
Huh. Yeah, that makes sense.
The guy is not looking to run the ball ever. So what we can do here, let's throw in Bears D as the stock D for the moment, just because that's the thing to do. That opens up $7,200 for a wide receiver into flex. I mean, it sucks that you'd have to go Jennings-McCaffrey, but you could go Jennings and anyone you want. So you could even upgrade from Jennings if you wanted to. Or you could use a more expensive wide receiver. But we kind of went through it. There's no one really there that you seem to like outside of JSN.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at wide receiver and being like, oh, who would I really like to jam? And it's like, well, I kind of like Nico, kind of like Jefferson theoretically. I mean, it would be Tyreek, I guess.
We already have Tyreek in this lineup. So.
We already have Tyreek on this lineup. I'm just sitting here looking at the salary sheet. Shows how much of a nerd I am.
Are you actually? I guess maybe the way to swing this around is to use the expensive receiver. Like hell, you could use Amon-Ra. You can use Jay. Like let's say it's Nico. Nico's the one we want to go to. It leaves us $6,800 for a running back for our flex, if that's the route that we want to go. Like you can take James Conner and throw him in here. And upgrade to 2,800 at defense if you wanted to, although I don't really see a ton there. Packers D might be anything. Packers D could be very sneaky if we're not touching that game anyway.
Yeah, Packers D and hope that Purdy's shoulder gets re-injured in the game and Josh Dobbs makes an appearance.
Yeah, that would be the whole thinking behind it. Like if we're fading that game anyway, why not go full bore with it?
Let's do it. More sharp advice, Pat. You're trending dangerously close to giving good advice on this program.
Yeah, I see you say that, then you lose all your money. You're like, Pat, you're a moron. I should have remembered that. My entire ability is to I'm basically a salesman. I will sell you on these bad ideas and make them think that they're good ideas. I don't know how I have this gift, but I do. I wish I was better at it, that I could sell people good ideas instead of the bad ideas. But I can only work with what God has given me, Davis.
Yeah, I would say we're actually very similar in that degree. We were both given the gift of gab, but not the gift of high IQs.
Exactly. You are exactly right about that. Well, maybe you're so wrong about that. It's actually the inverse. That's what I'm going to start telling people. Like Wes on House of Villains, where he's telling everyone he's a Mensa member, which he is not.
I'm gonna have a bona fide Mensa member on my podcast next week. I'm really looking forward to it actually.
And now, if it's Wes from House of Villains or The Challenge, just know he's not really a Mensa member.
No, it's Ryan Doubt, former top DFS player and poker professional.
Oh, I remember the last time that he was on with you. I actually really enjoyed him as a guest.
He recently did like a legitimate like lab tested IQ and is applied to Mensa after getting the results.
I mean, there's only one person on this show who I think would even come close to doing that. Do you know who that person is?
Cust for sure.
It's 100% Cust. Guy's IQ's off the charts.
Do you think he'd be a legit 160? Because that is what I believe that is a requirement for Mensa.
I mean, I would say he's probably like he's 130 plus. Like I don't know, like on any given day, like how much you can go up and down. Like that would be my floor for his IQ.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to game this out in my head if I think that he would be a legit Mensa member. Because it's hard to be so common sense ignorant the way that Cust is and be that intelligent.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because some part of IQ is also like spatial awareness, emotional intelligence, like things that are that would be related to me, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but that is my read.
Yeah, you sound like someone who's never taken an IQ test before.
No, I have. I had to take one when I was in primary school.
So you really so you really remember it is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I had to get what do they call it in the States? An IEP, an individualized education plan.
Because it was so low or so high?
Not because it was so low, in my memory, although maybe everyone was lying to me.
That's the whole route here. So we've built this lineup with Tua. We're going to submit that. Let's go back to the first one that we threw up on the board. Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Josh Downs. It leaves us with 5,150 remaining for the rest of it. Where do you want to go with this lineup? Well, I'm going to defer to you here.
Let's put DJ Moore in.
Is there any Viking you want to put in?
Yeah, let's use Hawkinson at tight end instead of Schoonmaker. We could still use Schoonmaker at flex if we want, but let's do.
So now we have
TJ Hawkinson.
$5,300 left with those two in.
All right, let's go. Well, let's just do. Actually, let's not. Let's put JSN in here and James Conner and see what that leaves us at flex.
All right, JSN, James Conner. It gives us 4,200, but we still need a defense. Like, would you play Bears D with Moore and Hawkinson?
Yeah, because you could argue that a pick six, kind of just makes that game better. You could argue that a Darnold pick six kind of increases that game's fantasy point expectation for everyone because it's going to speed the pace up a bit.
Or you could just play the Giants for $100 less, who are in a similar position, especially if Wirfs doesn't play. So
sure, I got no issue with that at all.
And get off the chalk. That gives us 6,000 for a flex.
That is a horrible range.
Hey, Tyrone Tracy's right there. Pair him up with Giants D.
Sure, I like that. Yeah, Tracy could be kind of one of the secret plays this week. No one's really going to play him, but the workload should be really good, and the Buccaneers defense has been quite bad. For
whatever reason, people think that Devin Singletary is still a thing.
No, he doesn't play at all. He gets about 13% of the snaps.
All right, so in the Washington stack game, we have Schoonmaker and Brian Robinson.
Schoonmaker and Brian Robinson. All right. Well, I mean, let's just say we're actually wrong about not being that into Jaden Daniels, and let's put Jaden Daniels in.
I don't want to play Jaden Daniels with Brian Robinson, though. I feel like you're eating your own tail with that. Like, if Jaden Daniels has a huge game, it's because Brian Robinson doesn't score rushing touchdowns.
All right, let's do Mahomes then. Let's do Mahomes and Hopkins.
Hoppy, I thought you liked Worthy.
You made fun of me, man.
It's just, that's all it took to get you off of Worthy?
No, I'm probably going to play a little bit of Worthy on my own, but that is my own money and my own consequences.
Is it Mahomes? We didn't really build out Geno at all. And Geno does pop up
Sure.
like every single week as the optimal. You like JSN anyway. So let's go Geno.
Yeah, sure.
Geno, JSN, DK.
Yeah, if you're doing Geno, you need to double it, and let's put Marvin Harrison Jr. in here as well.
And fill up all of our spots. Marv. Okay, and we still have 57.33 left in this lineup. Let's go to Bears D. Chuck them in at 2,500. That leaves us 7,300 for a running back in a flex. You could go like Gibbs A-Chain, I think.
Let's do that. That sounds great. This one.
You don't have it. You'd have to go down to Giants D to do that.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, let's go down to Giants D. I think again, we just sadly did give people a good team that might theoretically win some money, which is not really what we do here.
No, I mean, should we change this? Should we put in like AJ Barner instead of DK Metcalf?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the way to ruin this one is to get off of Gibbs and get off of Schoonmaker. That's how you ruin this team.
Outside of the Bears, what is like? I have them at 17% right now. The Colts against, I mean, if you're gonna punt off, that's why I like the Giants here, and maybe the ownership is gonna be wrong, but I would much rather play the Giants D against Baker and the Bucks outside in crappy weather than the Colts for $100 less against Detroit. Like, even with Detroit,
No, I'm not
that's
playing the Colts D.
That's tough.
Yeah.
If you could find your way to
see if there's
Minnesota's D is like the nuts play. It's impossible to get to them with how we're
you
spending
could
our money.
I think you could get away with the Titans. Like CJ Stroud throws one terrible interception every single week. I think you could theoretically get away with that, couldn't you?
Yeah, I would prefer the Titans over the Colts and Panthers for sure.
For sure. I think the Panthers and the Colts are basically unplayable.
All right, let's do that. Let's throw in the Titans into this lineup just to mix it up so we don't have the same defenses running through every time and leave $100 on the table.
I do just like the Bears are like I do too. That's not good. I mean, the people listening on Pat and I both like it. It probably means it's really, really bad.
Enter that one. What do we got next? Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, JSN, and Trey McBride is up next. So this seems like the perfect range for Jawan Jennings and those three mid-tier running backs. Let's see if that works. Jawan Jennings.
Yeah, Jennings.
And then you go Hunt, Robinson, Tracy.
We don't even need to do Tracy. We can spend.
Yeah, it leaves us 2,900 at defense if we do that. So we can't really spend all that much.
No, we can't. So let's put the Bears in.
All right, so we'll throw the Bears in. That leaves
say the line, Bart.
It leaves 400
and
it leaves $400 on the table for us to upgrade either Hunt, Robinson, or Tracy. Which there's not.
I was trying to see if there's a $6,400 running back. I don't.
It's Aaron Jones. Do you really want to play Aaron Jones? Like the only other way you could finagle it, if you really like Brock Bowers, you could take out Tracy and play Bowers.
You know, with the Bears defense, we could play Swift instead of Tracy.
Swift is hurt. He has this groin issue that I'm kind of worried about. And I did read a thing called numbers and don't play running backs against Minnesota.
Okay. Well, I've yet to graduate to looking at numbers. So that's interesting.
Yeah, they're quite good, as it turns out. There's another one. Swift, lower rushing yards for underdog.
Swift, lower. All right.
So you could
I'll take it.
Would you rather play Tracy or Bowers?
I would rather play Bowers.
All right, so we'll go double tight end in this. We'll have Bowers. At least,
God, I love it.
We're doing double tight end here, but they're both like good tight ends at least.
I do. I mean, double tight end, man. It's been the single entry stuff.
It's been in the Sims. Is it actually winning though? I guess would be my question.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, it has been. Like if you look at like a bunch of the winners of the Spy and the Red Zone and stuff this year, they've been like the Gesicki Taysom week. I mean, now is it showing up in winning lineups because the best players are doing it, so it is overrepresented in the field? Probably. You know, because the winner of these single entry and 3 max contests it's not the optimal, you know. So if 32% 2% of the entries have double tight ends on it, and a lot of those double tight end lineups are from the better players, it's going to be more likely to win than it should be played.
I thought with the Detroit stack worked out really well for me in the 150 last week. I had, because everyone was playing Jameis with Tillman and Moore, so I just played Jameis with Judy and Njoku. And the bring back, unfortunately, I had MVS, who was good. He scored like 17 points, but I had Hill in until the last second. I was like, yeah, I don't want to play Taysom Hill. And just swapped. I think I would have won the 150 if I had played Taysom Hill.
I had a lineup with Taysom Hill in it, and I ran it in my sim stuff. It simmed okay, but it simmed better with Audric Estime. So I played Estime.
That's actually a very interesting name for this slate. Now, 0% of people are going to play him. And now they're going to be up in this game and against a team that you can run on. I mean, do you just bank on the chance that they're like, hey, Sean Payton says it's an Estime week. Let's go back to him.
I mean, I think Sean Payton doesn't even know until the game starts what he wants to do, because technically Javonte started the game that Estime got all those rushes in. I don't know. Sean Payton is such a dick, and he loves it. That's the thing, is he like really enjoys being a dick too.
Well, let's talk about him, because we have Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, Brock Bowers. I have Schoonmaker in as the flex right now. We can take him out. I guess the reason not to play Estime or Amir Abdullah or the guy that you went to college with or whatever for the Raiders, if those guys end up missing, is that it doesn't feel like you need the money this week.
No, it does not feel like you need the money this week, which is, it's always sort of interesting when it feels that you don't need the money, right? It's like, well, that can't be right. You know what I mean?
I absolutely know what you mean. Let's try A-Chain in this lineup with DeMario Douglas. How about that? We'll go to that Patriots game and pick off a piece there. Does that leave us with... Who's your favorite? Like, is Jennings your favorite of the 49ers guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is.
So we go...
Which, again, should tell the listeners at home, if I, who have hated Juwan Jennings forever, am like, he's the best, stop fighting it, just let it go. That should be your flashing red light at home to say it's Debo week.
So if we can go Jennings with Kid Romeo here and throw him at the flex at $4,600. You can go to
if we put the Vikings,
that's
D,
what I was gonna say.
What do we have?
We have 6,000.
Oh,
left.
Hunt,
or Tracy.
I like Hunt better.
You like Hunt better than Tracy? Leave 300 on the table. That means we could get up to 34. We could get up to Commanders, Texans, or Lions defense.
No, I think we hold here.
Okay. Don't mind this. So it's Nix, Sutton with Bowers, Achane, Kareem Hunt as the running backs, Jennings, Romeo Doubs, and Vikings D. It's a very balanced lineup.
Balanced lineups might be great this week because they're not going to be popular. You're going to get off the Schoonmaker thing. I think balanced lineups could be pretty strong. So I bet they sim very well. I bet when you run your sims, you're gonna get a good bit of that.
So let's try this one. This is the CJ Stroud one that I was talking about a little bit earlier. So it's Stroud with Collins, and that's just it by itself. And when we have Kareem Hunt, Juwan Jennings, and Brian Robinson in this. This was the Tracy Hunt Robinson play that I did. So we threw in Stroud and Collins because that seems like fun. And then you throw Juwan Jennings into this as well. It gives you, with Giants D at 24 to go with Tracy, gives you 5,300. Like, if you go, you probably don't even need to go with Schoonmaker here. 25 leaves you 81, leaves you Jefferson, leaves you Mixon, Achane.
Let's play one Jefferson. Let's play one. We've got no Jefferson. He is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And I suspect that probably his big game is going to come at like 1.7% ownership.
Are people actually just not playing him here?
Oh, he doesn't get played anymore. Yeah.
Like, I have him at 10% right now, but that's obviously too high, isn't it?
No, I'd take the smash low on that.
All right, we'll throw in Justin Jefferson then. So Stroud with Collins and Jefferson. That sounds like fun. Juwan Jennings. I like our receivers, if nothing else. Like, if Tracy Hunt and Robinson can come through, like, that's going to be... And this is what I talked about off the very top, that the want is to pay up at running back, down at wide receiver, and we've just kind of done the opposite here.
True. Yeah. And like if Jefferson is the highest scoring player or highest scoring skill position player of the slate, it doesn't even matter if, if McCaffrey and Achan get 22 or whatever, they will be not in winning lineups, which I think is interesting.
All right, we'll throw that one in. And the last one we have is this one that we filled out with Jordan Love a little bit earlier, the five-man stack from that game. It's Love with Reed and Dobbs, McCaffrey, and Juwan Jennings, with Brian Robinson, Broncos D, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Schoonmaker coming in to fill it out to save all the money at 25. I think this is still my favorite lineup that we built. Outside of maybe the 201.
I would play Purdy on this team, but other than that, chef's kiss. Love it.
If you play Purdy on this team, which you could just easily make that swap, you were already leaving $100 on the table. You go from Love to Purdy. I just worry that he is a bit banged up. You save $300, you get $400 more. You could upgrade Broncos D if you wanted to, all the way up to Lions, Texans, Commanders, or Vikings. So we could just do that. We'll play it that way, and then we'll re-import it. Jordan Love, switch Love to Purdy. And then we can take Broncos up to... Do you like Texans, Commanders, or Vikings? Texans might be sneaky here against Levis.
I think, I was going to say Texans feel like the sneaky one.
So let's go. We'll throw that one in too and see how that goes into the $10. And those will be our lineups for the week on the Pat Mayo Experience. Which one is your favorite of all the ones that we built?
I think that Purdy one. I agree with you. Yeah, I think that's just like, to me, I feel like that's just kind of the easy button in DFS. Like Purdy, very condensed offense. Purdy, McCaffrey, Jennings, one Packer. Choose your Packer. All the Packers wide receivers are pretty cheap. And I guess if things feel easy, they probably aren't easy. But man, I think that one is my favorite.
How excited are you for Schoonmaker 0 points?
Schoonmaker 0 points might not even matter this week if the expensive guys are what you needed. Although I will say we did just do that whole thing. Every lineup we did had a cheap tight end other than the one Bowers team. So that probably makes Kelsey and Bowers like very, very good plays.
We had one Bowers team, then we had one McBride Bowers team.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of great salary leverage to be had from those expensive tight ends. And they obviously have way better ceilings too.
Yeah, of course. And I'm looking at the ownership projections right now. Kelsey is projected at 23%. There's no way it can be that high, can it?
No. That's where you get the early stuff in the Sims that will be solved by Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's assuming a lot of people play two tight end lineups.
Which some people will, but obviously less than is being projected in the ownership right now.
Yeah, Kelsey, 23, Ertz, 11, Bowers, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. Look like the top 5 right now.
And I bet that Jonnu stuff comes down. People don't like to click on Jonnu, even though he crushes every week.
He's not fun. He has as many fantasy points this season as Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I believe he's got way more fantasy points than Jalen Waddle now.
I can see that. Jalen Waddle scores a point a week, so it's not hard to be. Yeah. I think I may have more fantasy points than Jalen Waddle.
He scores a point a week and then limps off injured.
There's 2 big perpetrators of this. He's number 1. He gets hurt 3 times a game, yet he mainly comes back in. Every time Puka catches the ball, he goes down.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has spent at least 2 drives in the medical tent in 4 games this season.
And then Aaron Rodgers goes in sometimes just for kicks, I think, just to hang out. It's a dark room, center himself.
No one has been more annoying this year than the New York Football Jets.
We had the discussion on the spread show of whether or not, because it's cuss contention, they're the marquee franchise. That's why they get all this attention. I don't recall them getting all this attention when they were crappy before Aaron Rodgers got there.
No attention. The Jets are like the 22nd most popular franchise. The Giants, if anything, would be the marquee franchise in New York.
I would think that too, but I think that it's hard for a New York football team. They're both not in New York; they're in New Jersey. So let's keep that in mind.
Jersey.
Buffalo is truly New York's team, but even to put it that way, there's so many other teams in New York that are also popular that when one of the teams becomes shitty, you just move on to you move on to the Knicks.
Yeah, I I mean that is always the way it goes. All the football is king. I was talking to Andrew Wiggins the other day. Is there
Yeah,
any city?
I actually listened to this with you. I think there's a lot of cities where football isn't necessarily king. Like, I mean,
LA is the top one, I think.
LA is, but even when the Rams were in St. Louis, it was still the Cardinals.
I mean, I live in St. Louis. I don't know. People here do not like football, but maybe it's because Kroenke left in the middle of the night.
Maybe, but like everyone loves the Cardinals, don't they?
They do, although it's one of those things where St. Louis is like this large metropolitan area, and it's like that stretches in kind of 30 miles in each direction, and the Cardinals people tend to sort of be the people who live on the more rural area of the county.
So like Atlanta with the Braves.
Sure, yeah, Gwinnett County, right? Is that what it is? But I would assume the Falcons are huge business there.
I mean, every football team is huge business, obviously, but if you take football out of that conversation, you think about like what are big sports otherwise. I know it's probably not so much anymore, but like the Red Wings for years in Detroit were like incredibly popular because they were good for 20.
Oh, they were really good. Yeah.
Like they just became ingrained into everyone. So I would say that although the Patriots are a big business, that Boston can kind of go either way, where like if the Red Sox are really good, then everyone's all in on the Red Sox.
You know what? That's probably the easiest way to answer it, which is that whatever the most popular team is the team that is closest to winning a championship in a given moment, or has like the best player in a given moment.
I see. I don't even know if that's necessarily the case. Like I think it's default football is going to be the biggest, unless it's one of these historic franchises in baseball. Like there's no hockey team that even comes close. And I think you're right about LA. Like the Lakers are the biggest business in LA.
For sure.
But that's the only
the Rams and the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers like basically are like a community college in Los Angeles. Like literally no one cares.
They seem to have more Jeff was pointing it out. They seem to have more fans on that Monday night game or Sunday night game last week.
I bet there are University of Michigan transplants who are Harbaugh people. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't live there. Do you think it's the Bolt Up crew or the Rampede that are bigger?
Neither. I don't know. These are the people. I don't know. I'm so anti Los Angeles, Pat. I can't imagine like a worse city in this country.
What? When was the last time you were in LA?
2005, maybe.
So you went there as like a 13-year-old or something?
Yeah, I went on a skateboarding trip.
I was there last year, had a great time. I have a great time every time I go to LA.
I was going to say, you have a great time everywhere. That's just the type of person you are.
Maybe that is skewing my vision about it. But I go there. Like my uncle lives down. He lives in Huntington, so I go down and visit him like once a year, and then I'll stay a few days in LA, and I always have a great time. Like people just get most of the people that hate all these places are places that people have never been to. By the way, like even when I was in
to be fair, I just don't like.
I was in San Francisco last year too. People just shit on San Francisco all the time.
Oh, San Francisco is great.
I thought it was great. I went like my buddy lives there. He's like, yeah, don't go down there. I was like, okay, so I didn't go down there. Had a great time.
No, honestly, very similar experience for me. I've been to San Francisco 3 times, I think, and I've had a great time every time.
Yeah, I also had a great time when I went to Dallas. Like I love being in Dallas. It's fun.
Dallas also fun. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, but
good city.
Yeah, the point that we were trying to make about the Jets being popular and how they're always in the news, and why I think that pertains to Rodgers is that, like I said, that you just move on in New York to something else. Where with the Cowboys, it's the Cowboys, and people aren't moving on to the Mavericks, no matter how good they are. It's just about the Cowboys.
Hey, man, the Mavericks have won a championship in living memory, and no one cares.
Yeah, they were in the finals last year. I doubt people even remember that happened.
I mean, I barely remember it happened, and I watched it. It was a very forgettable finals.
I mean, you live in that part of the country still-ish, like that. It's not even the South. Like, what's that called? Like, where you?
It's not even. First off, no. I live literally probably 900 miles, maybe more, from Dallas. It just looks like that's like saying someone from Belgium is from France. I
mean, they border.
Belgium is probably closer to France.
They border each other.
Missouri does not border Texas, and Texas is not the South. Texas is its own thing. I'm from the Midwest.
How big can the Midwest be? 99% of the Midwest isn't even in the West. And now you're like, I mean, how close to the Gulf are you in Missouri?
Well, the Midwest is an old term from before the United States possessed all of the actual Western territories.
Okay,
right?
So that makes more sense to me then.
Yeah, it was west of Pennsylvania.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
St. Louis is a lot more north than I thought it was. I thought it was way more south.
Yeah, it's like I'm like a 4-hour drive from Chicago. I'm probably a 20-hour drive from Dallas.
It would take you, I guess, yeah, you said 900 miles. In my mind, I'm thinking kilometers. And
Kilometers.
I was like, yeah. But I guess it's the same thing when people are like, hey, I'm visiting Toronto. Can I come and see you? It's like, it would take me 24 hours to drive to Toronto.
That is the literal 1-to-1 comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I thought that Missouri was where Arkansas was in terms of like the map. Like it was just that south.
Oh, we're not that far. Yeah, I'm not that far from Arkansas, to be fair.
Spend a lot of time in Arkansas? You seem like
I've gone
big
golfing in Arkansas before.
Oh yeah. Do you ever just like is Arkansas like the drive-through state, like to get to, like if you're going to New Orleans, you just drive through Arkansas?
So Arkansas they would consider themselves the South. They would not consider themselves Midwestern. So I don't know. I haven't spent a ton of time there.
Why, you refuse to go to the South?
I just like to stay in the Midwest. I mean, the real answer, Pat, is I don't like to go anywhere. I like to work in my basement.
That is what I've really figured out from all of this. You just hate everywhere that's not your basement, so you can just online yell at people, huh?
I like my gym. I like my golf course that I go to, and I like walking in my neighborhood, and I like my basement, and I don't really need much else.
So we'll never see you in Europe? You don't want to come on the trip to us?
I don't want to pay to go to Europe. So if Underdog wants to sponsor me, then we can go.
You need to like team up with Cust here because he doesn't want to pay to do anything. Some things cost money. I'm throwing that out there.
I'm a working class man, you know.
Not with that haircut, you're not.
Working class is it's the sliding doors, you know.
Use code Mayo at Underdog. I will return on Saturday with the updated ownerships once we get finalization and crystallization on these injuries. They'll be higher projected then. And then on Saturday evening, I'll run the Sims. Will be even better. But the show on Saturday, I'll have the injury update, the rankings update, the Underdog plays, and the DraftKings pivots built off most of these lineups as we go along. You can follow Davis at Davis Mattek on YouTube and on X, and probably Blueski as well if you want to get on over there and just really trigger Jeff Feinberg, whose mortal enemy is now Blueski Davis.
Yeah, I'm interested in Blueski because they let me tweet my links, so I like that. But other than that, I'm too lazy to tweet two places, and I'm never getting off. I promise you, I'll be the last person posting on X.
I'm never leaving either. But I'd be like, I have a Threads account. Not that I use it all that often, but you know,
Sure.
if you're in media, then you probably should have these things. If you can get people to watch your stuff or click on your link somewhere, you should probably be there.
That's all I care about, man. If I thought it would make me more money, I would post on the Nazi site. What's Parlor?
What's Parlor?
Parlor is or it's not. There's a
You mean Truth
there's
Social?
No, Truth Social is Trump's thing. There's like an alt-right Blueski. Gab, I believe. I don't know. There's a couple of them.
This is real you're real online, aren't you? I guess that's what happens when you don't leave your basement.
When you don't leave online, yeah, you are very online.
All right. Follow me at the PME, sub to the channel, and sub to the newsletter where you'll get that free blast coming at you on Saturday evening with all of the updated info that you'll need to make your decisions on Sunday. All right. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!